Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Voices of the Insurance Industry, an interview series where we get to know some of the most interesting and thought-provoking leaders in Connecticut's insurance marketplace. Voices of the Insurance Industry is a collaboration between the Connecticut CPCU Society chapter and the Center for Career Development at the University of Connecticut. My name is Zach McInnes, and I'm the Assistant Director of Corporate Partner Relations here in the Center for Career Development. I'll be facilitating our conversation today. Today, we're talking with Justin Moulton, who is the State Relations Executive at the National Council on Compensation Insurance, also known as NCCI. I'm excited to get to know Justin and to pick his brain about his career journey and his perspective on what makes the insurance industry in Connecticut such a dynamic space. So without further ado, let's get started. All right, first question. What is your name and current job title, and how long have you been working in the insurance industry?
Thank you, Zach. Really appreciate the opportunity to be here. As you said, my name is Justin Moulton. I'm the New England State Relations Executive for NCCI. I've been in the industry for 23 years.
Excellent. Thank you, Justin. And did you go to college? And if so, what did you study?
I went to Babson College. I was actually concentration in finance and economics, and graduated with a bachelor's of science in business administration. And for those of you who don't know Babson, it's a business specialty school located in Wellesley, Massachusetts.
Awesome. Yes, we love Babson. Thank you. And Justin, tell us about your career journey. How did you get from Babson to working in the insurance industry?
Well, when I was in college, I really didn't have an understanding of the insurance industry or an appreciation for the opportunities that really were in that career path or that industry. So my first exposure came through an internship that I had with Travelers Insurance between my junior and senior year. I was a finance intern, and that actually led me into the industry on a full-time basis after graduation as part of their financial management leadership development program.
You heard it here first, folks, an internship leading directly into someone's career. Excellent. So tell us a bit more about your current and past jobs in the industry. What did you do, or what do you do every day?
So as I said before, I've been in the industry for 23 years, but I've had 9 different jobs over those 23 years. And I think that really just shows all the different types of opportunities. So I'll give you kind of a brief overview of my history. And the first 3 years were in that finance program that I mentioned. So within that program, there were 3 one-year rotations. And my first rotation was in the credit risk management area. So I was analyzing the credit risk of large national accounts that created potential credit exposure related to loss responsive policies. Then I switched over to a more traditional finance role, which was financial reporting for what was then Travelers Life and Annuity business. And then in my 3rd year in the program, I had the opportunity to be a finance leader for a startup. It was a joint disability and workers' comp product that was put together by MetLife and Travelers. So that was a really neat opportunity and kind of goes along the lines of that entrepreneurial spirit that Babson is known for. So after graduating from the program, I had an opportunity to work for Citi Insurance, which was when Travelers was part of Citigroup, and it was their international insurance business. So I got involved in financial controls work, and we set up life and annuity operations in Hong Kong, Poland, Japan, and Brazil. So got to do some pretty cool travel there, and really neat experience. And at the end of that stint, I actually had always had an interest, even going back to before I was in college, in some sort of potentially federal law enforcement or law enforcement activity. I never really got to actualize that until I saw an opportunity to be a fraud investigator, and I started working for Travelers in their workers' comp realm, the residual markets business. So because workers' comp is a required coverage, everyone has to have coverage. If they can't find coverage in the voluntary market, they have to go to the residual market. And in that role, I was investigating not claimants, but employers. So employers can misrepresent the type of work that they're doing. So the level of risk, they might be a roofing company and represent themselves as just people sitting behind desks. or they might misrepresent the amount that they're paying to their employees, because workers' comp is a payroll-based premium. So it's a rate per $100 of payroll. So had a lot of cases that I investigated there, and that was really cool. And did that actually for about 5.5 years before moving on to another role, also within the residual markets division. And that role was as the business retention and development officer for that group. And in that role, I was managing relationships with regulators as well as other carriers. We were servicing residual market business, both for the residual market pools in certain states, as well as for some other carriers. So that was really neat. Again, getting back to that entrepreneurial experience, really had an opportunity to build that role that didn't exist before I had it. And that was a lot of fun. So that takes me through about 15 years of my career. And I had been an individual contributor for those first 15 years. Obviously had a bunch of cool different roles, but never really managed anybody. And 15 years in, I realized, you develop all these ideas of like, well, if I was a manager, I would do this, but you never know if it really works. So around that time, had an opportunity to become a compliance manager, also in the residual markets division, focused on workers' comp. But that gave me an opportunity to manage a team of people and really enjoyed that aspect of the job, and also building my compliance skills. After that, that actually transitioned me. I started studying for my CPCU, my Chartered Property Casualty Underwriter designation. And as you can imagine, that goes well beyond workers' comp in terms of the content, and ended up in the State and Bureau Regulatory Affairs group at Travelers, focused on all commercial lines. So really expanded my horizons, and we were working on basically all the different filings of the different products that Travelers has. It goes from liability to property to inland marine to, it's almost boundless in terms of what those opportunities were. So I ended up as the Director of Compliance and Research in that role, and then ultimately had an opportunity to get back more into the relationship management side of things in my current role. So I left Travelers after 19 years and joined NCCI about 4 years ago in my current role as State Relations Executive. And thinking about what I do right now, I really enjoy the interface with the regulators and the legislators. I am responsible for that interface for NCCI. We have about 900 employees based out of Florida. A lot of those are actuaries, a lot of data-related folks, and I am really the conduit for the New England region. So we manage not only the rate filings, so we'll make essentially loss cost filings, which is what the voluntary carriers use to develop their workers' compensation rates. But we also manage the system infrastructure. So we make rule filings, form filings, those types of things that the carriers will use when they issue policies. And then the other aspect is just kind of sharing thought leadership information. Obviously we have a lot of data, we do a lot of research, we publish a lot of articles, and part of my role is to help inform the industry and kind of carry that message for NCCI and help people really keep on top of what the current issues are in workers' comp. So it's been a fascinating journey, 23 years, and really, it's turned into an amazing career, and I've really enjoyed it.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you for walking us through that. I'm just so impressed about all the different types of roles that you've had in your 23 years. It kind of goes to show just how diverse the insurance industry really is and how many different things people can do. So thank you for that.
Definitely.
A related question, and you've touched on this a bit already. What do you enjoy about your job, and what motivates you to wake up in the morning?
Yeah, so I think from a big picture perspective, the thing that really motivates me is kind of the purpose of workers' compensation, which is getting injured workers back to work. So that really makes me feel good. It motivates me from that big picture perspective. On a more personal note, I think it's really the people that I get to work with. I really enjoy my colleagues at NCCI, and I also enjoy working with all the workers' comp stakeholders throughout the region. So it's that's really enjoyable. But I think there's also another component, which is in my current role, the variety. the variety of topics. Workers' comp may sound like it's a very small microcosm, but there are so many issues that can impact workers' comp. The economy, certainly workers' comp is a payroll-based type, a premium based on payroll. The economy has a significant impact on what happens with workers' compensation. But there are so many other issues, thinking about things that we, keep a pulse on. So legalization of marijuana, the use of marijuana in workers' compensation claims. Really, there's quite a range of topics that we publish information on. COVID has been, a big issue, obviously. And we've published papers and shared our findings. What is the data showing us related to COVID? Those types of things, and making sure that we inform the debate really at the end of the day and help people understand what issues are driving the system.
Excellent, thank you. So one of the things I've heard from you, I guess two things I've heard from you, and that some things that you enjoy about your industry are the people and the fact that you make a difference in your work. So could you elaborate on that a little bit? And so what do you enjoy about the insurance industry?
Yeah, so I think it's a group of people who are interested in helping other people in their time of need. So I actually was a volunteer firefighter and EMT for 15 years. So I think that's something that's near and dear to my heart. And this is an extension of that. But in a larger scale, going beyond my community. This is something that, from my perspective, hopefully having a positive impact on the workers' comp system in New England. But, from NCCI's perspective, having a positive impact on the workers' comp system countrywide. So, that, just making a difference in a, not in as small a way, but, really helping to make that system work is important. And when you think about insurance, I mean, it's designed to help people through very difficult times, right? And with workers' comp, it's if you're injured at work, but it could be something like the loss of a home, if it's a property coverage, issues with health, when you think about health insurance, or some larger catastrophic event. So, it feels like, from my perspective, insurance is a very close-knit community. And I do really enjoy connecting with other folks in the industry, whether it's at other CPCU events or other workers' comp events, things of that nature. Really, I've been, really thrilled with the conversations I've been able to have with people, the different perspectives that they bring, the diversity of the industry. It's really been fantastic.
Beautifully put. Thank you for that.
Sure.
Do you have any funny or interesting stories that you'd like to share with us that have occurred to you during your career?
Well, I don't know if I have any funny stories, but I think the most interesting stories probably came from when I was a fraud investigator. And the biggest takeaway that I have is the creativity and energy that some of these people put into trying to defraud the insurance company. If they could harness that energy and creativity for the good of their own business, I mean, they would just be, amazingly successful. So, there were one particular case, a business set up a standalone computer system where they ran only about 10% of their payroll through it. They created fraudulent tax returns, and basically all in the interest of paying less than they should have in their workers' comp premiums. And that entire effort could have been harnessed and focused in maybe growing their business or doing things like that. So it in that case, we actually identified about $650,000 of additional premium that they had underreported, and we were actually able to collect that. So it was a good story, and definitely very interesting. But just if they could use their powers for good, that would be a lot better.
I love that. And so now, Justin, let's get at some advice you may have for our UConn students. So why should college students consider working in insurance?
Yeah, so I guess there's a lot of reasons. I think there's so much opportunity in the field. As I expressed, there are a number of roles that I have played over the years. So thinking about it, from finance to investigations to compliance to state relations. I know others who've made their careers in marketing human resources, claims handling, information technology, data analytics, actuarial science. I mean, really the list is almost endless in terms of what you can bring in terms of skills to the industry. So I would encourage students to take that more broad view of insurance and not see it as, oh, it's just underwriting or it's just claims handling. There is so much that goes into running, these very large or very small insurance companies, and not just insurance carriers, but also insurance agencies and agents. At the end of the day, insurance as a product obviously is an important part of society, right? It allows for risk taking that otherwise people might not be able to undertake. And if you're thinking about starting a business or buying a home, whatever that is, insurance allows for that risk taking. It provides that safety net, and it's an important aspect of our society, and it's a product that really I don't think is going anywhere. So there is that added security. So I would really encourage students to explore that type of career.
I love it. Great. Thank you. And so wrapping up today, Justin, is there anything else that you'd like to share with us?
Well, Zach, I think I just really want to thank you for the opportunity to have this conversation today. I think it's important to share, from my perspective, the opportunities that are within the insurance industry. I think a lot of times it gets a bum rap, if you will. I think there's, some folks, oh, what do you do? I work for insurance. Oh, and they look for the next conversation they can skip to, right? But I think there are so many opportunities. My experience has been fantastic. I never would have considered insurance. When I think back to my 4 years at Babson, never really crossed my mind until I found out about that internship. And now that I'm part of the industry, I do realize how many opportunities there are there. And it is a really interesting field. And it would encourage folks, who are in college. When you think about the insurance industry dynamics right now, there are a lot of retirements. There's a lot of institutional knowledge that is retiring out. So I would encourage folks, I know that there's going to be a lot of opportunities coming up as well. So it's phenomenal. It's been a great experience for me. And really thank you for the opportunity to talk to students today.
Wow. Well, I sure learned a lot today. Thank you, Justin, for this great conversation. And thank you to everyone for tuning in. Until next time, this is Voices of the Insurance Industry.